Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are welcome, everyone, for attending the webinar series with Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. It is a pleasure to have every one of you. I notice there is a lot of registration going on now so far, and all of you are welcomed. The chat and talk today will have graduates, attributes, design, and assessment. Today is Monday, June 14, and we would like to welcome our speaker and our panelists to be with us today. And this chat and talk will be under auspices of His Excellency Professor Abdullah Rubaysh, the President, Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. And we are really proud to announce this webinar series. And the reason behind it is for the enhancement of equality skills. Usually, the chat and talk format, what we have in the university as a dedicating for the academician and for people working in the universities industry. And this is one of the topics we think it's very hot topic. It's very important for all to be aware of it and to have the development and design needed. Just to remind, just to speak about this webinar series, as a matter of fact, is under Jusur initiatives. Means Jusur is the process for improving IAU ranking and enhancing accreditation within the university. And this aim to improve the ranking for the universities and also improve the academic performance and performance in terms of their work. And also this initiative, we are concerning of it to be the hub of communication to all the community. And if we notice, we have people participate with us from all over the world. Thank you for all of them. This week, this webinar, as a matter of fact, we have from all over the world. Even if we see there is from Oman, from Libya, from India, and also from different parts in Saudi Arabia and different parts in the Gulf area and the United States as well. Thank you so much for this confidence and this trust of our webinar to present this information or this kind of knowledge you really need it in your practice. Now, if you allow me just to have just a couple of minutes about the IAU Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. For those people, they really know to have their history for a minute. Please.
تمر جامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن بن فيصل بمرحلة ارتفعت فيها التوقعات، حيث يسهم التعليم في تقدم الأمم، ولذا تنطلق جامعتنا من رؤيتها الاستراتيجية جامعة رائدة تسعى إلى التميز محلياً وإقليمياً وعالمياً، وتهدف إلى تحقيق رسالتها على الوجه الأكمل في تقديم خدمات معرفية وبحثية ومهنية إبداعية بشراكة مجتمعية فاعلة ومن خلال قيمها الأصيلة وعلى مدى تاريخنا العريق منذ أن تأسست عام 1975 ميلادي فرعاً من جامعة الملك فيصل بمدينة الدمام، مرورا بصدور القرار السامي لتحويلها إلى جامعة مستقلة عام 2009 تحت اسم جامعة الدمام، ثم انفصال جامعة حفر الباطن من رحم جامعة الدمام في عام 2014، وأخيراً بتشريفها بمسمى جامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن بن فيصل في عام 2016. كما تميزت الجامعة بالحصول على العديد من الاعتمادات المحلية والعالمية على مدى السنوات الماضية، ونحن فخورون بهذا الإنجاز والذي بني على خطط استراتيجية تجسد اختيارنا لنموذج الجامعة الشاملة أداة لتحقيق رسالتنا في خدمة الوطن عموماً والمنطقة الشرقية على وجه الخصوص. وينتشر منسوبون في 6 مواقع في المنطقة الشرقية، ويبلغ عدد موظفينا نحو 8000 موظف ما بين أعضاء هيئة التدريس والكادر الإداري والطبي. كما يدرس في الجامعة ما مجموعه 35,000 من الطلبة ينتشرون في 19 كلية و85 برنامجا ضمن 4 قطاعات طبية وهندسية وإدارية علمية وإنسانية ومصنفة كالتالي: المسار الصحي، كلية الطب، كلية طب الأسنان، كلية الصيدلة الإكلينيكية، كلية العلوم الطبية التطبيقية بالدمام، كلية التمريض، كلية الصحة العامة، كلية العلوم الطبية التطبيقية بالجبيل. المسار الهندسي، كلية الهندسة، كلية العمارة والتخطيط، كلية التصاميم. المسار العلمي، كلية علوم الحاسب وتقنية المعلومات، كلية إدارة الأعمال، كلية العلوم، كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية بالجبيل. المسار الإنساني، كلية الآداب، كلية التربية، كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية بالجبيل. كليات لا تتبع السنة التحضيرية، كلية الدراسات التطبيقية وخدمة المجتمع، كلية الشريعة والقانون، وكلية المجتمع.
Okay, thank you. The objectives of for the title we have graduates attributes design and assessment. Our panelists they will discuss the three topics, which why we need graduate attributes for a higher education institution, and the art, and they will also speak about the art of aligning the graduate attributes of the academic program with those of higher education. I will have a practice guideline. I think there will be a third topic Dr. Kathiri gonna speak about, and how do we measure the graduate attributes, principle and the practices of assessment in the attainment of graduates. As a matter of fact, we're gonna really enjoy the speech by the 3 panelists, Dr. Nasser Sarhan, Dr. Bassam Al-Hammad, and Dr. Muhammad Al-Kathiri. Dr. Nasser Sarhan, so he is really well-known figure. He's in the academic equality, academic issues and accreditation, and he's the head of curricular department at King Faisal Air Academy, and quality assurance and accreditation consultant, which is he provide the academic support and consultation services for the Royal Saudi Air Force and for many higher education institutions in Saudi Arabia. and for abroad as well. From 2011 to 2018, Dr. Nasser, he was a full-time consultant at IAU-DQAA, and here he has also extensive experience in the field of quality assurance and academic accreditation in the higher education and military education and the training sectors. I would like really to welcome our friend, Dr. Nasser Sarhan. Our second panelist we have, Dr. Bassam Al-Hammad. Dr. Al-Hammad, he is an expert in quality assurance and accreditation. We are really thrilled to have Dr. Bassam. He has really long sustained CV. We're really proud of what he has, especially in quality and assurance accreditation higher education. He's the former director of the Quality Assurance and Accreditation Center at University of Bahrain, hold a PhD degree in a process system engineering, an affiliate member of NCAHI and EBIT program evaluator, and an ISO expert and ISO 9000 2018, and also ISO 1015, and also an ISO 1720 17025. Dr. Hamad is a key figure when it comes to industrial affairs and engineering, and member of Higher Education Academy and the representative person for University of Bahrain, who is an associate member of International Network for Quality Assurance Agency in Higher Education. His profile as a speaker and advisor, actively participating in organizing such as an Ernst Young, DIA Tawfiq Engineering Peru, Bahrain Society of Engineering, and also many organizations, government and private, and also he trained 9 private universities in the field of quality management enhancement. I'm really proud of Dr. Bassam Al-Hammad, and thank you so much to be with us in Jasur for enhancement, quality, and skills. Our third panelist is the Dr. Muhammad Al-Kathiri. He's our Dean of Education, Faculty Development Education in the Imam Abdul Rahman. Dr. Al-Kathiri has a PhD in teaching and learning in higher education, and a dean, as I mentioned, for academic development in Imam Abdul Rahman, has a diverse contribution and experience in the field of higher education, and he's very active, mashallah, in this, particularly in relation to faculty development with the aim of improvement teaching and learning practices, and ultimately enhancing student learning. He's a chairperson of Academic Development Council, founder and chairperson of SAMC, which is SAMC is expertise house of academic development and higher education, member of standing committee for university academic plans and programs, and participates in a member of councils, initiative, association, and committees related to development university of education, published a lot of scientific paper on investigation of higher education. His contribute to implement leadership and talent development program in Imam Abdul Rahman University, and also judging international award for innovation in education, has provided consultancy and a training program for various entities with Saudi Arabia universities and also abroad universities. You are more than welcome, Dr. Al-Kathiri, within this chat and talk for Jasur, and really proud for our panelists of participation. Today, with the objectives we have, I want to speak about, as an overview, what we're going to discuss. As everybody knows, graduate attributes are the high level quality skills and understanding the community of the university its students should develop during their duration within the university. I think our panelists, they will go through that in details. These attributes prepare students and graduates for lifelong personnel development, learning, and to be productive in society. And as a matter of fact, they didn't really give a lot of attention to the graduate attributes and the importance of it within the universities until now. Within the last 5 years, it become the notion high. This must be reinforced. for graduates, using high quality academic program. Graduates must have and improve high level qualities on their educational track. And this is what the accreditation agencies all over the world focus on it. Also, graduates must utilize those qualities beyond their journey into their professional career, and they will enjoy it to mention or to have the attention for the mission and the vision and the goals of the university. Graduate level skills are marketed by universities as a desirably by employers and will inform student work positions, and we will hear more from our panelists. Graduate attributes promoted by each university are often different due to the competitiveness of higher education sector. And we notice even now the ranking of the university, how they are focused in this kind of part, such observed different among universities attract student and build their brand. University increasingly use these attributes as markers for quality of learning, teaching, and organizational culture. I don't want to take long. I think I will leave the floor to our panelist, Dr. Nasser Sarhan, to go through more details for it. Dr. Nasser, the floor is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين. أما بعد, welcome everybody. Actually, Prof. Kweti, thank you for your introduction, and it's a great honor for me to have this opportunity to provide this webinar with Professor Bassam Al-Hamad and Professor Muhammad Al-Kathiri. And of course, I would like to thank the university, Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University, for this opportunity. And this is not my first time. And I will share with you some my presentation. And just confirm, Dr. Kweti, is it?
Yes, it's ready.
Yes, I will start from the point where you stopped, Prof. Ahmed, about a definition of graduate attributes. And here in this, I will take this opportunity to share with you one example of defining and designing graduate attributes from University of Edinburgh. They did this project like the following, and they defined graduate attributes are descriptive of what it means to be graduate of higher education institution. And of course, ما نقدر نشيل هذه دكتور كويتي, yes, okay. And of course, it's not basic remindal skills required either for entry the university or simply engage in study. No, they focus on skills and abilities of students. Not only that, attitudes and approaches. And they clearly defined how students approach learning and knowledge by their own development and the world around them. So somehow they bring the labor market, the employer's needs to the curricula itself inside the university. And also they define this as well, skills, abilities, and attributes that mean different things in different contexts and disciplines. So they consider those should be in the curriculum. Students should achieve this through the curriculum and activities, academic and non-academic activities inside during their study life. Also, they are not graduate attributes. They are not simply taught, but developed through meaningful experiences and the process of learning and reflection. And they are not a list of skills and simply taught. No, it's activities inside the program itself. The final definition in their project was the graduate attributes, they are unique to every student. And they said, it's yes, we may identify some common areas that we or the university want students or graduates to develop, but students will have their own starting points. And this is very critical and this is very important. Dr. Bassami has a lot to talk about this, inshallah, in his part. Progresses and experiences in these areas, while the university which will shape them as individuals. Now, I like to define graduate attributes as a future definition. like the following. Graduate attributes are PLOs, program learning outcomes of knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes that the graduate is experienced to acquire at the end of any academic degree. At the same time, they should having the ability to be effective in the workplace for the benefit of themselves, their employers, and the national economy. I like this definition, and I just like to share this with you. I will go to the next slide. I will make it big. This is better. So why we need graduate attributes for higher education institutions and programs? Actually, there was a lot of studies, academic studies, showed that there's a gap or mismatch between the skills that students themselves developed during their studies and skills needed by the labor market and employers. So this is like a starting point why we are focusing now in this area about graduate attributes at university level and program levels. Also, there's a need to integrate general characteristics of and the qualities of graduates into the curricula, into the programs, into the academic and non-academic activities in the programs. For what? For purpose of to ensure the development of student skills and to provide them with better work environment to increase their employability. And this is very important. Dr. Bassam, he will talk about this in more details in his part, inshallah. Now also the characteristics and the qualities of graduates have become a basic starting point in designing the programs, the curricula, the study plans in institution and learning outcomes for academic programs. And I will show you how, and I will show you one example. Number 4, which is very important, it's an accreditation requirement. And from here, I would like to share with you our national accreditation system requirements in regarding the graduate attributes. And there's one question about this in the questions list. Now, we have 4 practices or 4 best practices in institutional standard required each institution to define its general graduate attributes. Now we are talking about general graduate attributes at institutional level. Not only that, those general graduate attributes to drive learning outcomes at institutional level. That we are talking about academic and educational strategic goals and objectives at university level, which are consistent. Look at this, our national accreditation system defined the starting point. Those graduate attributes should consistent with the institution mission, the educational goals, development requirements, and labor market. Not only that, and approved by the higher level of the institution leadership. Now, the second practice here, the institution ensures that graduate attributes are identified for each program. Now, we have a big umbrella for graduate attributes at institutional level, and then the accreditation system in Saudi Arabia asks also programs to design their graduate attributes in line with the institutional graduate attributes. And not only that, and this is the strategic planning issue, the graduate attributes at institutional level should be designed based on the institutional mission statement and goals, and the program itself according to the program goals, the program mission statement. In line with the institutional graduate attributes, the program mission, the discipline, and the professional standards. That means we have to bring the labor market, the employers need to our curriculum to define those graduate attributes. Now, the third requirement is the institution ensures that academic programs have identified student learning outcomes. Look at this, to integrate graduate attributes with them. Now, we have to design or redesign the program learning outcomes to merge the program graduate attributes with them in the same list. And this is very critical, and this is very important as well. So have identified student learning outcomes that integrate graduate attributes, meet the expectation of stakeholders within the outside the institution, and are aligned, this is another requirement, with the requirements of National Qualification Framework NQF 2020. The fourth requirement is the institution ensures that its graduate attributes achieve targeted attributes through verify of appropriate assessment mechanism. It looks like how we measure achievement, student achievement of program learning outcomes, similar. We have to deal with those after we integrated them in the program learning outcomes themselves. Now here, I would like to share with you a framework for enhancing the graduate attributes or to design graduate attributes. And this is like a conclusion of my talk about this area. So everything's starting from a planning stage. And in a planning stage here, we have two things. Starting from the institution itself, the institution mission statement, the institution strategic goals and objectives, and also the alignment between the program's goals, missions, and goals with the institution. So this is the starting point. What the institution promise graduates or promise students to be able to do after they finish this, their studies, what the program promise their students, their graduates to do after they finish their study. The second stage here, and we are still in a planning stage. In this stage, we have to study the skills needed by the labor market and determining the graduates' attributes based on them. We have to have this consultation with employers, labor markets, and check what skills needed there, and we'll try to merge them to our curriculum and in our learning outcomes at the program level. Now, after we finish this stage, I call this stage is planning stage, we will move to the aligning stage. So in this stage, we have to examine the alignment between the requirements of the labor market and with National Qualification Framework. It's according to the country where we are working in academic institutions. And also integrating the skills into program learning outcomes. This stage is the design stage. We will try to merge both of them, program learning outcomes with graduate attributes. And of course, in alignment with institutional graduate attributes and institutional mission statement. Now, after that, we have to examine if those consistent with the assessment methods and teaching strategies which we use to learn students inside the classroom and inside the programs. Now, exactly like what we did or doing in program learning outcomes, the accreditation system asks us to or required to define assessment methods aligned with each one of PLOs and assessment teaching strategies and methods aligned with each one of those. After we merge the graduate attributes with program learning outcomes, we have to re-review teaching strategies and methods and assessment methods for more alignment with the new PLOs after the merging, graduate attributes with them. The last stage is the stage of action plans to improve and enhance further practices, partnerships, and extracurricular activities. Now, why I put the extracurricular activities here? Because graduate attributes, to measure students' achievement of graduate attributes, we may need also non-curricular activities. Not all of them we can measure the achievement through the assessment, direct assessment methods. And I will talk about the assessment. And this could be achieved, graduate attributes could be achieved by two ways: by direct assessment or direct observation and indirect measurements. Now, by direct observation, it's completely like any other PLOs. So we will deal with them as program learning outcomes or course learning outcomes. We will define assessment indicators with benchmarks, with analysis. We will use KPIs with benchmarking for graduate attributes as we use them for learning outcomes. And of course, we may use rubrics to make our life easy when we do the assessment. Number two, indirect. And indirect assessment, I divided it into two things. The first one, by indirect measurement, by examining the specifications of assessment processes themselves. So we have to have a plan for assessment. Now, after we merge graduate attributes, program graduate attributes with the program learning outcomes and course learning outcomes, we have to have a plan for assessment. It's exactly like assessment of program learning outcomes. We will extract from this plan how we could measure the student achievement of each graduate attribute at program level. Now, also by indirect feedback from students themselves, from employers, from external examiners, from professional bodies, and we use here surveys to take their opinion and feedback about the suitability, about the appropriateness of our graduate attributes. They are measurable? Can we measure them, achievable or not? Very important, again, to align assessment methods and graduate attributes and learning outcomes after the merging process. And I would like to share with you just a quick example, not very detailed one, and you'll find in the left column, graduate attributes outcomes. Now, what I mean by that, after we merge both of them, PLOs, program learning outcomes, and the graduate attributes, then we will redefine the program learning outcomes. So, and simply like that, in successful completion of the program, the student should be able to, number one, number two, number three, this is the list of program learning outcomes merged with graduate attributes. We can make another matrix like this only for those PLOs, including graduate attributes, and we will redefine the assessment methods, the policy, our plan for assessment. So if it's continuous, if it's continuous assessment, if it's every semester, if it's peer examinations, is it direct, indirect, pass standard, total grade, rubrics, whatever we have in our assessment plan. Now, not only that, the very important issue here is to define also teaching and learning activities needed to achieve. Students need them to achieve graduate attributes or the PLOs after merging with them the graduate attributes. What will the students do to learn and to achieve the graduate attributes? What they need? Now, most of the time, the good answer here that we have to merge them in the activities, in the academic activities in the program itself, because it's a PLOs, because it's a program learning outcomes now, because it's a list of program learning outcomes. So we have to merge them in the academic activities. But sometimes we need class activities and extracurricular activities, which is impossible as academic program to add them in the curriculum itself. So we will use the students' clubs. We will use also the field experience training or the summer training or the co-op training, the internship training periods. So through this definition of teaching and learning activities, we can follow up the program learning outcomes. Not only that, and each graduate attributes in the program. I did my best, Prof. Bassam, to save some time for you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmad.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nasser. I really appreciate it with really well-organized knowledge regard it. Just to remind our audience, if you have a question, the answer, it will be for the last 10 minutes of this chat and talk. Please write it down there to give me the chance to read it and to give the chance also to our panelists to answer you as much as they can. And also if we couldn't have the time to answer all the questions, our panelists, they will promise us to answer you as well. Now let us to hand the floor to Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad. Dr. Bassam, the floor is yours, sir.
دكتور بسام اعمل unmute لو سمحت.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I was muted. I was speaking to myself. Welcome everyone. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu rasulullah. I thank you very much, and I thank Dr. Nasser Sarhan as well as providing me for more minutes to speak up because it's going to be a marathon, I think so, for what I'm going to present. I would like to thank the university, Jamaat Al-Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal, and all the organizers for making this a successful event. So yes, so simply talking to what we want to talk about today. This is a very straightforward or a simple character or a cartoon that my brother had developed for me. So this guy is telling the other guy, I have taught my cat how to sing. And this is what we do theoretically, right? So he was surprised and saying, but I can't hear it singing, like it's not singing. And then he replies, I told you I have taught it. I didn't say that it's learned. As we know that teaching something theoretically is totally different from a practical aspect of the students can do it or not. And this is where we have sometimes a mismatch of what we have to the employability skills. Looking at it now at a different perspective. So I'm sure that most of our universities already have program outcomes, and through accreditation activities, they already have these things written very clearly as program outcomes. Well, taking it at a higher level, as Dr. Sarhan has mentioned, there are some universities, including one of the universities in Bahrain, they have something called the University Inter-Learning Outcomes. It simply says that any program should satisfy all the graduate attributes, which are simply stated in the University Inter-Learning Outcomes. So it is saying that you could have many program inter-learning outcomes, the technical ones, the generic specific ones, the transferable skills, wherever you want. But we are telling you as a program, we need you to satisfy the graduate attributes. And this is where it comes, where you try to align all the program outcomes at the program level to the graduate attributes, which is something to be achieved by all students graduating from the same university. Now, as an example, before I go into the depth of the framework that I'll try to explain here, as an example, here was an example of a program audit which targeted some graduate attributes, and these are the graduate attributes written here. And just an example, that was in 2013, where we audited chemistry department, for example. And we found out when we audited the chemistry department that it had plenty of assignments, reports, presentation, and definitely this reflected that they would have a good communication and report and oral skills. But when we looked into depth into their technological competence, where we talk about basic office use or research library using technology in that sense, or having a software for modeling a simulation to the chemical compounds, or statistics, moving of ions and protons and neutrons, and so on. So we wanted to see that, and we were surprised. The chemistry department had no software, none at all. The students only learns the theoretical parts, and he has no he doesn't have this technological competence, which is really important at the employability level. So we can see that we can build the graduate attributes through our teaching and learning activities. And of course, this will reflect in the assessment activities. And the colors just reflect here what was satisfied and what was not satisfied. So that was just an example. Now, going to what should we do? How should we develop our employability skills? We have a problem here. How can we develop our graduate attributes, which is part of employability? The first thing we thought about, we need to do a quick survey of what is available in the whole world. And this is what we had done at a national, regional level, and at an international level. And we have collected all the graduate attributes that we thought that are important. And as all of us know, the story of the top 10 skills of 2025, as it was stated in the World Economic Forum, and they have developed a group of skills that all graduates should know or should be equipped with these skills. However, when we try to do a comparison of what we have nationally and what the Higher Education Council tells us to do, and what we saw at an international level, we found out that there is a similarity between what they are requesting. It looks like all of them are taking from the same basket, to be honest with you. However, Temkeen, which is some kind of economic shoulder that we have at Bahrain, which looks at things more economically, more than it would look at things that are social level. But however, it is requested by the World Economic Forum. Well, that was a practice we did. And then we tried to map all of those graduate attributes to the curricular activities. And that was our first catch. Oh my God, curricular activities are not enough to cover all those skills. We only can cover them if we have extracurricular activities. And to just give you an example of that, and one of the skills that is related to transferable skills, and let me take the first one, the Arabic and English skills. Now, talking technical English, they can learn that in curriculum activities, but do they know how to send an email technically in English, that in the curricular activities, or they cannot do that? Actually, they can really develop it into extracurricular activities. Let me give you another example. For example, we teach students how to prepare a budget. Now, doing an economical analysis for a certain budget is totally different when they do it into an extracurricular activity, when they are trying to develop or conduct a conference. Because they are conducting the conference, they need to go into the depth of the budget. They need to understand what is debit and credit. And by that, they are really learning much more. It's not that much more, it's a different skill that they are learning at extracurricular activities that is different from curricular activities. Now, with all that in mind, we stopped and we said that we need to develop a metro for our university to make things right, because it looks like that they are not right. And this is where we are starting. Now, where is our curriculum where is our graduate attributes in our curriculum? Is it available or not? Number two, do the graduate attributes, or are the graduate attributes reflected in our regulations, or they are not? If they are not reflected, that is a problem. And when I say regulations, I mean my program regulations, I mean my quality assurance regulations, I mean my benchmarking policy that also mentions the graduate attributes. I mean my study and exam regulations, which also specifies something related to graduate attributes. So there's a lot it should be stated in the regulation level. What about the market? Did we do any market rationale to develop our curriculum to make sure that our graduate attributes are available in our curriculum or not? Well, why developing our curriculum? Did we make sure that our graduate attributes are reflected in the outcomes? Do they satisfy the NQF levels? If you have NQF at your country, for example, at the National Qualification Framework levels, do they satisfy your objectives, your outcomes, benchmarking with other universities or other international organizations? What about the structure? Is it clearly that the graduate attributes are reflected in the structure? And when we say the structure, we mean everything that is written here referring to teaching and learning. What about the program support? Do the faculty know what are the graduate attributes? Okay, do we have enough budget to develop the graduate attributes? Do we have enough facilities to develop the graduate attributes? Did you see, like, it's just reflected a totally different way of how we looked at things. And when we stopped there, we found out that we have a big problem in developing those graduate attributes, because we thought that graduate attributes is only at the program level. We didn't think that it could be at every part of the organization, at every step in developing the curriculum. And when we opened our policies in front of us, and this is the way of how we open our policies, we discovered, oh my God, there's nothing mentioned about that the faculty members should be aware about the outcomes. He knows how to develop those graduate attributes while career advising or career counseling their students. We found out that the students' bylaws, they do not mention any outcomes to be achieved. They just mention how to conduct a student activity, but they don't mention what are the skills that should be achieved there. And so on, we started discovering a policy after a policy that lacks the graduate attributes. And part of that, we said that, I'm just giving an example of how we have looked at a market scale at Bahrain, where we are trying to discover our graduate attributes. So while developing the graduate attributes, we looked at the employer needs, the diverse workforce, the experience and training, the careers, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That means without graduate attributes, I cannot, without knowing the employer needs, how could I know what are the graduate attributes? If I don't know what is the workforce that I have in Bahrain, I would not know what graduate attributes I should develop to satisfy that workforce. If I don't know what the workforce in Bahrain needs as experience, training, or education, I would have a problem. We just can't see how much the university or the program needs to be attached to the workforce and to the real life and industry, rather than sitting just teaching students without looking at all those needs. We need to know the careers. We need to know what are the future careers for the students. But if you hold for a moment for me, we were going to do a big mistake. And what was the big mistake? We thought that the international trends are always the trend that is required at every place. But by the way, that is not true. So if you look at human and welfare sector, at Australia, it is at a different need in GCC. What does that mean? That means it is a need at my place, but I should be careful that my need is different from another place need, which means that if I look at the graduate attribute as well, I should be careful to what I really need. I would look at the international practice, but I need to know, I need also to look at the national level as well. And it's not only that, actually every sector would require different skills when we go from one sector into another. And of course, this is very well known. And so when we identify graduate attributes, we should be very careful that it should be very generic at the university level, and more specific, more detailed when you go to the program level. Why? Because the program level could identify the details of the graduate attributes. So you should have a balance there of having something generic and specific to the program level. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to link our graduate to the market. Initially, we had a framework, and that framework said that, well, what should we do? We should fix our governance or our policies and procedures. How do we align the program outcomes with the graduate attributes? And then how do we update our employability skills? And then how do I align our employability skills with teaching and learning? And how do we train our academic staff members to have all those skills to develop those employability skills to the students? And then we said that we need to also make sure that we align students to exact streamline. Streamline means that if they want to enter chemical engineering, If they fit engineering, they should enter engineering. But if they fit arts, they should enter arts. I shouldn't put a person who fits arts to an engineering stream. And that is a problem that we need to fix. And of course, we need to upgrade all other facilities. Now, with this beautiful thing that I'm talking about here, that is not good enough, because all what we are doing here, we are empowering ourselves. We are not empowering the student. And this is where we need to shift our mind, that if you want to develop the graduate attributes, we need to shift it to have it empowered by the student. And when I say empowered by the student, that means I need to empower it at every aspect of all of those different elements. Academic life, this is what we know. What we know is that academic life, we need to develop the skills for the students in terms of knowledge, skills. That's what we know. But by the way, the students need also to develop some network skills, which means that we need to work on exposure and networking. And we also need to develop some work-based learning skills, which means that we need to have some activities like micro-placement. Micro-placement, that means they work there for 3 weeks only, or speed recruitment events or structured work placement. I'm going to explain this in a moment. What about career services? Do the students know what is their career while they are entering the program or not? If you're talking about graduate attributes, you cannot make of me, Bassam Al-Hamad, a poet, yani sha'ir. You cannot, whatever you do. So what I'm trying to say, if I entered an art program, I would never succeed. If I can see from the beginning that this career is not my career, you see, I'm empowering the student to take the decision. If I see that this career is not my career, I'm streamlining myself, and the university is helping me to streamline to know what is or where is my career. And this is a key activity where you're going to drive the students to the right position and to drive the student to the right place where he's going to develop the correct graduate attributes according to his or her personality. Where if I go to certificates, a good example I have in Germany and France, they have something called the certificates of employability, where before the student graduates, he has a certificate in hand, where he takes some kind of employability modules, and they also have the opportunity to have some occupational licenses. And actually, I have seen this example also in Saudi Arabia. Well, some students, while they go for co-opt training programs, it's like a long training program, and within that training program, they are allowed to attend some courses where they can achieve some certificates that provide them the occupational license to work on that field. So you can see a lot of activities that we need to do to develop the graduate attributes. So it's not about academic life. It's much bigger than an academic life. It's much, much more bigger. Well, let's go to another example. Well, just to get what I'm going to go through now, I'm going to go through the academic life, exposure, networking, into some little more details, shedding light on all of these details. So part of academic life, which we already, all of us know, which we thought that academic life is achieving outcomes, it is skills and competencies, case, SC, NQF. This is what we know, but actually academic life is much more bigger than that. It's wider. It's wider. It's not only the competency at the personal level, but there are academic competencies, there are workplace competencies, there are industry-wide technical competencies, there are industry sector technical competencies. Now, all of this would reflect in the outcomes. But what I'm trying to say is not as simple as just statements written to satisfy ABIT requirements as an example, but it is much more detailed, and this should be updated throughout surveys and interaction with employers and surveys. I did not mention what are the instruments. which we use, because there are details of instruments of how to develop these kind of figures. Now, just an example of a student flow. Streamlining. I was talking about streamlining. The streamline means that if a student enters, he should exit the figure here. They exit our program, and we know that he's going to exit very successfully. But entering to a wrong program means exiting to a wrong place, or maybe he's dropping out. Why do we have many people out? And by the way, here, if you see some percentages, these are real percentages. We lose about 6 million dinars, which is about 60 million riyals, just because of what? Just because of we don't have good streamlining at university, the university I work in. So imagine how much we are losing, but it's not about losing. It's not about losing money. We are losing the effort of students who could be part of this of development in our country. And one activity that we can use, and many universities use, we can use some kind of tests. And those tests help the student to identify what are their major in future. Believe me, if any student enters a different majors which is not fit to him or her, they will never achieve the graduate attributes, or they will achieve it at a very low level. We also mentioned a part of student empowerment is to provide students with certificates. Certificates means online certificates, and it could be inside the university. And when I say certificates online, that means we should have something in our regulations that we do approve online certificates, and we do support. And this is where we should have certificates in employability, of employability modules for students, and so on. And I already explained that part from a while. Do students have the network and exposure? Well, maybe or maybe not, but we need our students to get connected with alumni and employers. We need them to go to conferences and symposiums. We need them to sit in a long structured workplace learning, or it could be even a short time for about 3 weeks, but they should have this kind of exposure. If they don't have this exposure, there's a problem. Do our students know, which is part of their attributes that they need in future to get employed and to be successful? Do they know how to network, and do they know how to market themselves in social media? So that is a question. And if you think about it, student councils, oh my God, that is a big thing. It's because of time, I'm thinking to skip this, but it's really painful. One of the actions that one of the universities took in Bahrain is that they cut the budget, because they don't have enough budget, is they cut all the budget for student councils and activities because we don't have enough budget. Actually, they killed a big number of graduate attributes there without knowing, because they thought that all of the graduate attributes is only achieved through academic life or through the program. The academic life is much larger, but I meant that program inside the program. Work-based learning. Do we have work-based learning? In Australia, they have something called the Professional Identity Handbook, and they also call it the passport, in which they have this Professional Identity Handbook, and they have a tick. They already have the graduate attributes in their hands. And they're going to take this handbook, or the passport, they call it the passport. They take it to the employers, and they take. How do they take? Attending an online certificate, attending some student activities, going through internships. So what do? The students are empowered with a handbook, with clear passports, telling them that if you want to enter to any employer, you need to have your passport with you, with the details of all the skills that you need. An additional thing that I would add here, career services. Do we have good career services at universities to develop their graduate attributes again? If I would say we have a very good career counseling office, but maybe our career counsel office only concentrates on personal guidance.
Dr. Bassam, if you allow me, you have 5 minutes left. Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shukran, Doctor. So what about what about the other parts? The career services in most universities, they cover the personal guidance, but do they cover professional monitoring? Or what is professional monitoring? It is a 6-month, that is something in Germany. It is a 6-month for year 2 students where they go to the work area, and there is a follow-up from the career service from the university, just making sure that they develop the graduate attributes within the workplace. Well, let's look at the employability toolkit, which is in Australia or New Zealand, one of them. They have a lecture delivery, one-to-one consultation, and workshop for year 1 and year 2. I remember which university. It's the University of Technology Science in Australia, in Sydney. So that is something that we need to develop the graduate attributes, and so on. There are many there. I'm just keeping them there, but I would show you something that is available within TAFE. TAFE is one of the organizations. They have this picture here, and they have more and more pictures that I can show here, but let me share with you, rather than showing you the career path, and so on, let me share with you what do they have here. And actually, it's not easy to, okay, so I cannot do this. It's difficult because I have the panel up there. Okay, because of the shortage of time, I'm going to go back and you can read about it. It's called the TAFE Career Guide 2021. If you click on this link, you're going to go direct to the guide. And this guide simply says that what are the entry levels and what are the exit levels. So again, what are the entry levels and what are the exit levels? And actually we need this. Why do we need it? The students need to know if they are applicable, it's applicable to them to enter this program. And if they want to exit the program, they also want to see their future career. This document provides for all Australians the guide. The guide is a real good guide for the whole career, telling them what they are going to be in future, which means they also state all the graduate attributes that they need for that business. Now, talking about an effort that was done at our university, but not to that the expected level, that we have a job opportunity and a career gateway, a gateway where they can know what is available in the market and what are the careers and the details of the career, but it is not to the requested level that that I did not show, but it is in the TAFE career guide. Now, do students know about CPD? Again, what I'm talking about, student empowerment. Student empowerment of what? To develop their graduate attributes. It's not only us responsible, it's them responsible for themselves. So they should know the open online courses. They should know it. They should know the micro credentials, small courses where they develop some small credits and small courses so that they can develop a whole qualification. Of course, we know that micro credentials is not still within our regulations, but it should be there. We should empower students. And that is the example of the skills passport. I already explained that, which is a part in Australia. Not to forget, before I finish my presentation, is that most of the skills of graduate attributes that I had seen in the world, they forget about values. So please don't forget values in your graduate attributes. Okay, so that was the whole thing. So this is the university program learning outcomes, and this is how we try to link our program to learning outcomes with the university outcomes, but that is not enough. We need to do it at all levels as we have mentioned. Just for the sake of time, these are just instruments. I'm just jumping off. These are instruments, surveys, advisory committees of how we can achieve this connection. And these are detailed processes. I'm sure that you already have this. So I don't need to mention things that you already have. And one of the examples that we have taken, we did a self-evaluation. Every unit you need to do self-evaluation report. And we discovered that we asked them to do a self-evaluation report. Again, it's not only having data, they need to evaluate and they need to provide a report with actions and provide all the evidence for that. After we developed that, we discovered, that was many years back, that we did not mention anything about graduate attributes in our evidence. Sometimes we talk a lot, but we don't do much. So this was one of the things that we have done, and we have, of course, progressed there and did something better. In conclusion, don't forget about vision, and we need to have always actions which are value added and not only actions without any value. Number two, don't forget your nationality priorities. You need to look at the international level, but don't forget it. Number three, we need to look at the employability skills and market needs, and it is different in international from national levels. Number four, we also need to consider career guidance at a much bigger level. Number five, in conclusion, generic skills should not drag us away from academic skills or the technical skills, because we always see graduate attributes and we think that technical skills are not important. They are definitely important. But we are talking about here that there are generic that integrate with that technical skills. This is my last slide. If you would like to read more, there's a book within UNESCO, 2 books that I talk about employability. I also talk about balancing national and international accreditation within this edited chapter as well. I also talk about this book in which with Inkahi, and Dr. Tariq Sindi is with us today, and he's also a co-author here. And we also talked about the employability and quality assurance in the Arab world. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't take more than what I needed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad, for really well-organized, knowledgeable presentation. Because of the time, I would like to transfer to Dr. Muhammad Al-Kathiri, the Dean of Academic Development Program at Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal. And just to remind our audience, please have your question and in the icon there for Q&A to give us a chance after this presentation to answer most of the question you have or inquiry you have. Dr. Al-Kathiri, the floor is yours. Can you disconnect? Yeah, Dr. Kathiri, please.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Bassam, Dr. Nasser. Also, thanks to the, mashallah, over 200 attendees here this evening. So this is great. So Dr. Bassam, if you may just end the screen sharing.
I thought that I ended it, sorry. Is it okay or still?
Stop sharing, please. Stop sharing.
Well, how did it say that?
I think I can stop it from here. So yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Doctor. So just for the sake of time, I'll just get into it. And maybe I have 2 things I need to mention before I get to the presentation. First, I may skip some information there. Thanks to Dr. Nasser and Dr. Bassam. What informative presentations. Actually, we at the university here applied many of the ideas and of the principles that you shared with us. The second thing that I think it's important to mention, what I will cover here.
Can you share, please? Can you share?
Yeah, isn't it?
No, yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So it will be from our own experience here at Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. So it's kind of more or less than a case study of the of our development for the graduate attributes, and I try to focus on answering these questions. So I may not go through the steps that we followed or what we did, because it took us about a year just to identify and decide on the final graduate attributes here at IAU. So as per the instructions, the topic 1, why we need graduate attributes for a higher education institution. I may say or try to say this in different words. Do we need graduate attributes? And in order to answer such question, I would say, I will just give you an idea here and we'll come back to it. I think some statements, some graduate attributes for certain institutions, it's a must. So for certain institutions, they must have certain graduate attributes. Other graduate attributes, it may be good to have or just recommended. And other graduate attributes, I would say it's just okay to have, or it depends on the, for example, the context of an institution. We'll come back to this idea. Just keep it in mind as we go, as I will tell you about our own experience here at IAU. So here's the definition. It's the working definition. So it's our own definition. It's similar to the ideas that were shared so far. I would like just to emphasize certain keywords in this definition. So the graduate attributes at IAU are the skills, abilities, values, principles, and competencies deemed necessary and significant. By whom? So here's the first keyword. By the university community and relevant stakeholders. Why? To prepare a prospective graduate for their professional future. So the key word here is the university community or the academic community at a certain university. This is what makes it different than competencies or distinguishes the graduate attributes from one institution into another. Also, therefore, the academic programs should aim to enhance them, and a graduate of the university should have and develop them during their educational journey at the university, as well as continue to have after graduation. So here also another key word or idea that the academic programs have a responsibility that they should enhance and target such attributes. Also the student during their studies and as well as after they graduate, they have some responsibilities. I would like to mention that these two documents actually available online. One is about the project. It's still in Arabic, but the English version soon, inshallah, will be uploaded. And the other one is about the institutional learning outcomes here at the university. You may just Google graduate attributes at Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University. We have 5 graduate attributes. I would like just to mention, I believe Dr. Bassam mentioned that we have values. And of course, we have soft skills type of graduate attributes. And we have more of knowledge-based graduate attributes. So these types of graduate attributes for our context are important. Please keep in mind, as you may saw in the video, in the intro, the IU actually is a large university. We have 19 colleges plus the premier, so 20 colleges. And we have over 180 departments or programs. So it's huge. And we have 4 clusters. We have the College of Medicine and we have the College of Sharia and Law. And to have common graduate attributes among all these colleges and disciplines, it's to an extent, it's difficult and it's challenging, but also it's an opportunity if you can bring all these stakeholders and the university community to decide on what are the most relevant. This is one dimension, and the most important. This is the second dimension of graduate attributes for the institution. As I mentioned, we involve the stakeholders, the university community, graduates, employers, students, faculty members, and academic leaders as well. So for us here at the university, we came to a conclusion that graduate attributes are important to us because their contribution to the achievement of Saudi Vision 2030. And I believe Dr. Bassam mentioned this, how it should be related to the country itself, to the, I would say, major initiatives nationwide. And also it helped us to realize our own vision of national and international leadership and excellence, quality teaching, social responsibility, and the consolidation of university values. The fulfillment of the institutional accreditation requirements, as you know, by the National Center for Academic Accreditation and Assessment. In addition, that it helped with the alignment of program learning outcomes with the local, national, and global labor market requirements and needs. And today we figured out that our students are more of need, not only our students, but I believe students in higher education, more in need of soft skills, the 21st century skills, more than the what's called hard skills and the 20th century skills. Also, it helps with the alignment and enhancement of university curriculum to meet development and labor market requirements. It helps with strengthening the quality practices of faculty members to achieve the intended outcomes relevant to the graduate attributes. And finally, providing students with indicators of their progress in acquiring the graduate attributes to qualify for their future career. So let's go back to this pyramid here. I believe for, I don't know, but for a while here in Saudi Arabia, many universities didn't have what we call alma mater or an identity. We had very, very similar universities in terms of their programs, their vision, their goals, etc. So for now, I think, do we need graduate attributes? If it's just for the sake of having graduate attributes, for the sake of the accreditation, I would say probably we don't need them. However, if it's just to figure out what the university is about, so it's a must have. And it could be challenging for some universities. For example, if it's a large university, a large campus and many students, it will be challenging. For maybe some colleges, for some other universities, I would say with less than 10,000 students, it may be easier. With the diverse nature of some schools and campuses, universities, they should figure out what graduate attributes they must have, they good to have, and okay to have, and then they should take it from there. So for the second topic, it's about the art. And I don't know, Dr. Ahmed, but this word is just deep here. It's art, you know, art of aligning the graduate attributes of the academic programs with those of the higher education institutions. And I was asked to provide guideline. I don't know if I will, but let's see if I can answer this or address this topic here. As Dr. Nasser mentioned, the institutional accreditation standards actually stated very clearly that the institution should define graduate attributes and learning outcomes at the institution and program level. So if we can look here at this pyramid here, we can see that we need institutional graduate attributes, we need program graduate attributes if available, but also we need institutional learning outcomes and program learning outcomes. As per the accreditation standards, we should have or must have the program learning outcomes aligned with the institutional learning outcomes, and also the program graduate attributes aligned with the institutional graduate attributes. So this is what the standards tell us. And for us here at IAU, the graduate attributes project, I mean, our ultimate goal seeks to strengthen graduates' excellence by identifying and developing learning outcomes that prepare them for the future. So the project aligns with the university's strategic objectives and Saudi Vision 2030, the requirement of or standards by the NCAA, and the institutional accreditation requirements, and the best international higher education practices. We went through many of other best practices and many resources to figure out what that is relevant and important to our context here. So for us to address these four elements, the program learning outcomes, the institutional learning outcomes, and program graduate attributes and institutional graduate attributes, we have what you can see in front of you. We have 5 graduate attributes, and for each we have certain institutional learning outcomes. The achievement of these learning outcomes will result in the achievement of the graduate attribute. Now it's aligned, it's clear, and we provided our university with resources that I will mention in a minute. So let's go back to the topic. The topic is about the art. So these type of alignments, the whole picture thing, and the artist who will be able to draw such a painting. So these 4 elements mentioned by the standard. However, I propose, and this is what we do here at the university, that also colleges may have graduate attributes. It's not a must, but they may. So, and then everything should be aligned. The program learning, everything should be aligned with the other level here. But also, then the course learning outcomes should be aligned with the program learning outcomes. And assessment methods of the course should be aligned with the course. And then the teaching strategies should be aligned with the assessment methods. And finally, and many institutions may not address this, the learning experience of the student must be aligned with everything. And I would like to thank Dr. Bassam. You mentioned this many times, the extracurricular activities, the students' empowerment activities and ideas. I believe now we need more to allow our students to do extracurricular activities and figure out, we need to, innovate, okay? Be innovative in higher education in terms of how we achieve such graduate attributes. I believe, especially with the trimester system here in Saudi Arabia soon, inshallah, students will have more time for out-of-class type of activities. And if you look into for example, the Stanford university approach in terms of the quarters. They don't have trimesters, although it's very similar. They have certain hours for out-of-class activities, and it's called units. So they have in-class, out-of-class activities, and both of them are required by students to complete. And that is the learning experience that I believe. So to be able to, create this piece of art, we need many resources to be provided to the institution. For example, here we have this metrics. We have our own way to align, for example, the program learning outcomes. Take here. So, for example, here, these are the program learning outcomes. Here are the graduate attributes, and here the institutional learning outcomes. So within one matrix, we were able to align all 4 elements. And here you will find the graduate attributes and the program learning outcomes. Also, we provided our the faculty developers, the curriculum developers with some activities that we believe it will help them to achieve such graduate attributes. So it's just the activities, and here some English and here some Arabic. But if a faculty member could apply or implement these activities, that will help the achievement.
Dr. Muhammad, we have 5 minutes left, please.
Sure, doctor. The graduate attributes. So so here, for example, another example, and this is how to align graduate attributes with the graduate attributes and program learning outcomes. And as you can see, it's aligned with the knowledge, skills, and values of self. We provided resources online for those who are responsible about developing the graduate attributes at colleges and the program, the alignment. So just to quickly get into the topic 3, how do we measure the graduate attributes? Here are some principles. We have a framework that we believe it helps. We kept it in mind when we developed the graduate attributes, so we know how to measure them. But I would recommend that institutions should invest in developing the graduate attributes and its alignment. So it's not a quick fix type of thing, but it's an investment. They need to put resources and give it the time they need to get everybody involved and get into the graduate attributes that it's relevant and important to their context. I would recommend that they assess at different levels. Multiple assessment methods and tools are needed, and Dr. Nasser mentioned this, direct and indirect. Make use of authentic assessment, so not only pencil and paper type of assessment. Use common sense. I believe graduate attributes are difficult to quantify. It's not easy, so you need to make maybe use of technology, but always retest the methodology. So just to come to maybe the main idea here, and what I believe is the most important thing is the learning experience. We need, as faculty members, as faculty developers, as academic leaders, we need to focus on the learning experience. We need to activate some aspects of the educational journey, let's say, that we may not activate it very well. I believe if we can focus on the learning experience, it will be easier to align everything, to measure everything, and to provide or to facilitate our students to achieve the graduate attributes that we hope for. I think that's it for me. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to Dr. Ahmed and to the University for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muhammad Al-Kathiri. Well done. Really appreciate the speech from the three panelists, Dr. Nasser Sarhan, and Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad, and Dr. Muhammad Al-Kathiri. Now we are coming to the question and answers. I really have a lot of questions from our audience. If you allow me, please, panelists, we will have the first question to Dr. Nasser. Dr. Nasser, there is a question that has been raised to you that's indicate how to ensure that the graduates' attributes are consistent with the requirement of the National Qualifications Framework of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, okay. This is very good question. Actually, we will examine our graduate attributes with the domain of learning according to the level of study and according to type of learning itself, if it's full-time academic program or distance learning program or electronic program. So we have to examine exactly those graduate attributes if they included in the domains or not. Actually, somehow the domains of learning in the National Qualification Framework, specifically in the last area, the last domain, which is values, and in the previous National Qualification Framework, which is the Saudi Qualification Framework, SAQF, it was in the competencies. There's an area for attributes. And somehow we are not going to add a graduate attribute not related to the academic programs. And this is very critical and this is very dangerous. We are not going to change the shape and the type of the program from academic to any other issue because that we are going to close the gap with the market. No, we are providing academic programs. We will keep providing academic programs. All what we need is study those skills needed by the labor market, try to add them in the curriculum, not all of them. And this is a rule. Not all the graduate attributes may be achieved by toting courses in the curriculum. No, as Dr. Al-Hamad and Dr. Al-Kathiri mentioned, we need extracurricular activities. We need to provide professional workshops to our students. We need to enhance the co-op training and any other activities. This is how we measure or examine the alignment between our graduate attributes list and the National Qualification Framework. One more issue, last one, very quickly. We have not only to define graduate attributes as a list, words, for example, innovation, critical thinking, leadership, or ethics, or whatever. We have to change them or redesign them in a way to be a PLO, program learning outcome, and then we will examine the alignment between them and the course learning outcomes and the extracurricular activities which I mentioned. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. I have a question to Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad. Dr. Bassam, one of the audience asking which stakeholders to be involved in the development of graduate attributes, how to engage those stakeholders in determining the relevance and significance of the newly developed graduate attributes?
Well, that's a very good question. And actually, when I hear that question, and I was looking at my notes for a meeting that we had with the advisory board today, in which they included, it consists of the alumni and employers and key figures that know about the profession within the field. So what did they tell us? They tell us about the chemical engineering, the control engineering program. They told us very clearly they are very weak in some kind of leadership skills. And they mentioned exactly what they mean by the leadership skills. Or they mentioned to us, they have a problem with troubleshooting with problems. Now, troubleshooting for control engineers is very important. So they are telling us in a way what are the attributes that they would expect to have in the graduates. So what did we do? We simply sit with the alumni and employers in a very open meeting, very friendly meeting to have everything noted and written down. So this indirect measures or this meetings, they are key to develop the graduate attributes, or alter them, just little shift them in a way so that they can be fit to what we expect in the market. I agree, we shouldn't go low into our academic performance, but we also can have ingredients from the workplace into our outcomes and graduate attributes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bassam. Dr. Muhammad Al-Kathiri, most of the audience, they are really asking about the experience of Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal, and they are asking, what is the biggest challenges while designing and assessing the graduates' attributes for Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal?
Thank you, Doctor. Well, as I said, it's about the context. So here for the university, it's a large university. We have so many colleges and very distinctive clusters. I will give you an example. I believe for certain universities, especially here in Saudi, it's easier to agree upon certain graduate attributes. For example, it has the Islamic it's an Islamic, for example, university. So of course you would say, oh, we need an item that will or statement will relate to this. Some universities here in Saudi Arabia, for example, are they only have engineering colleges. So it's of course there's the harmony here. That was a challenge, to be honest with you. I mean, you see how to an extent it's a challenge that you have all these diverse colleges and programs, but also it was just an opportunity, to have this fruitful discussion and come to finally to an end and to an agreement. So this is, I believe, it's about the context of the university.
Thank you, Dr. Kathiri. There is a question for Dr. Nasser Sarhan. They are asking about the program learning, how to measure the graduates' attributes attained by the student using program learning outcome.
Yeah, this is what the NCAA required from each program. If this question from our colleagues in Saudi Arabia in our academic programs, the accreditation system is required to merge. First of all, we have to define the list of the list of graduate attributes according to the institutional identity, the program identity, and the subject which we are providing, and of course, in alignment with the local, with the labor markets and employers' need. After we define this list of graduate attributes, we have to redesign them, not words like leadership, innovation, creativity, or the critical thinker or whatever. We have to redesign them in a way to be PLOs. Now, when we design them in a form of PLOs, program learning outcomes, we can use a matrix. We will put in one column the PLOs as program learning outcomes, the normal PLOs, and the PLOs for graduate attributes. And then we examine the alignment. And after that, we have to redesign them after we integrating them together in one list. So this way, and of course, we need this work need an academic committee, experts people, and also it may need to be evaluated by external examiner or external expert, just to tell us, is this right or not? If we doing our homework the right way, or we still need to enhance them. Now, again, I would like just to remind you again, not all the graduate attributes may be achieved by taught in courses in the program. We have to know exactly what we can measure achievement and what we couldn't. This is very important. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. Also, there is a question to Dr. Al-Kathiri. In your experience with Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University, are extracurricular activities being a part of graduate attributes?
Thank you very much. Actually, I would say yes. And the reason is we have initiative of the student portfolio with the Vice President Office of Academic Affairs, we developed actually a handbook for students about the graduate attributes, and we shared this with the Deanship of Student Affairs, and actually they are working on providing students with, I would say, learning opportunities to develop these graduate attributes beyond the classroom and the courses. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would say, Doctor, it may take time though, even for IU and other universities. I believe first OD University it's a new concept and a mission to develop their own graduate attributes, but I believe it needs just some time until we become mature and become to what we need and what we expect on how to measure them and achieve them. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question to Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad. Dr. Bassam, one of the audience asking how to brand the universities using uniqueness of the graduate attributes with a specific focus on enhancing employability.
How to brand? The
Yes.
question is not clear. Yeah.
How to brand the universities using uniqueness of the graduate attributes with a specific focus on enhancing employability.
Okay.
Do you have any recommendation with that?
Yeah, well, let me say something. Well, now having graduate attributes at a university level could be very tricky. Why? Because if your university is small or a very specialized university concentrating only in engineering and IT, I would guess that the graduate attributes could be at a university level. And then the program could really align very easily with the graduate attributes at the university level. But if you're talking about like university, mashallah, Jamaat Imam Ar-Rahman ibn Faisal, you are talking about a very big universities of a very wide range of colleges, which means that the graduate attributes could be it is better to go at a more specialized level to the college level. Now, if you would take it even to one extent to the program level, there's no harm on that. You're just making it even better, but you always need to balance between doing more work, which is sustainable in that regard. So you need to be careful. More paperwork could mean that it is not sustainable, which is something else doing with the management part of it. Now, how does that reflect into branding and employability skill? Definitely it reflects into branding. When I'm going to go to an XY university and it is telling me that I'm going to be getting these attributes and I'm going to work in these pathways, or as a manager within 3 years in a certain company, when this university tells me what is my pathway very clearly from the day one that I enter the university, and it is streamlining all my skills to the exact profession that suits me, I would definitely go to that university. Why? Because it is ensuring my future or my career path after a few years from my graduation. So definitely it will work as a good marketing tool for branding.
Thank you, Dr. Bassam. There is a question that has been sent to me 10 times by WhatsApp to Dr. Nasser. They are insisting to ask Dr. Nasser, especially those people getting for accreditation. And because of the last question, I have to reply. Dr. Nasser, what are the indirect assessment method used to assess the graduates' attributes of academic program?
This is very excellent question. Actually, any indirect assessment methods is depending on surveys, on interviews, and so on. Now, not all the extracurricular activity should be used this way, but now we providing in some institutions, one of them, Imam Abdurrahman University, is a professional workshop to students before they graduated. And also their opinion in those workshops, the objectives of those workshops also is considered as indirect assessment. So my final answer is through students themselves. Ask them, Ask them, did you achieve this and this and this? You said from the beginning you will be able to do 1, 2, 3. Ask students exactly like when we ask them about BLOs. Are you able now to do, after they finish, are you able now to do this and this and this? Ask graduates, ask students by surveying, by also surveying their opinion, and by also interview through the Students' Council, through open door with the students, and so on. Thank you very much, Prof. Ahmed.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. I think we finished the question and answer phase. I would like to thank all our audience, Dr. Hisham Mohammed, Dr. Awadallah, Dr. Bassam Babtain, Yahya Zaghloul, Dr. Sayyid, Dr. Muhammad Shuaib, Najla. There is a lot of really nice, good question. I promise I will forward this question to our panelists to be answered because of the time. And Dr. Najjar, yes, Dr. Nasser, he will read your inquiry. Dr. Farisi, really appreciate. I have more than 230 audience today. I'm thrilled to have them. But before we close, I think now we need the final thoughts. This is the wisdom thought we always quoted from our panelists, and we can read it within the couple of days, and we can read it more and more. Let's start with Dr. Nasser Sarhan. Dr. Nasser, what is your final thoughts?
Yes, could you please just, Prof. Ahmed, stop sharing from you, and I will share my final thought with
Sure.
my colleagues, and they can take screenshot if they like.
Sure.
And I will use every little piece of my 10 minutes to do this, Dr. Ahmed. Just please.
It's 1 minute. It's 1 minute only.
Yes, I will do my best to make it like this, inshallah, inshallah. Share. This is my final thoughts. Actually, these two questions is always there. The first one, are the graduates ready? Employers, they say always no. They confirm no, they are not ready. Higher education institutions, they confirm yes, they are ready. We did our best. Actually, there's a clear need for global benchmarking leads to better outcomes of academic programs performance and study plans designing the study plan. Now also higher education institution in general should work hand in hand with the labor market so graduates are better equipped. Now this is one of the requirements of our Vision 2030, and I think it's a requirement in many visions in our Arab and regional countries. This slide, I put many answers of my colleagues. I read most of them, and I try to conclude. I'm not going to read it, but you can take a screenshot. And Dr. Ahmed, I'm sure you are going to pass this, inshallah, in the website and in the Twitter, yes, and in Facebook. Just take a screenshot, quick screenshot, and read it carefully, and you will find many answers. And those colleagues, I couldn't answer their questions, inshallah, I will do, if Dr. Ahmed send them to me, I will, sure, respond by email, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you very much.
Sure. Let's have thank you so much, Dr. Nasser. Let's have the final thoughts from Dr. Bassam Al-Hamad.
Yes, can
you stop sharing, Dr.
That's
Nasser?
okay. I don't have a PowerPoint slide for that, so
okay.
For me. So if I would mention a final thought about graduate attributes, I would mention that it is a gradual process. It's not something that you're going to pick from the shelf and put it on and you expect that it will succeed. So that's one dimension of it. Another dimension of it, to achieve graduate attributes, you also need to look at two things. What can you handle as numbers from students, and how many you want to graduate to the market? In other words, if you only can teach 20 students, then you can only teach 20 students to achieve the graduate attributes. But if you're going to take 100 students, that means you're going to have another problem there, which means that it's not only that you're going to streamline their capabilities, their skills that fit the profession that they're going to select at the university, but you have also another dimension is to look at the capabilities of the university or the capabilities of the program itself in terms of numbers that you can handle to achieve the graduate attributes. The last thing I want to say that there are a lot of challenges in management-wise. So if you're going to do something, do it in a wise way that is going to be sustainable. Otherwise, make it easier and easier. What I presented today was a very generic idea that we had done a lot of at the University of Bahrain. But what I'm trying to say, don't just copy it, do it your way. Do it within a model that you are going to satisfy. My last point is try to institutionalize everything that you're going to do. So if it's not institutionalized, that means it will remain as a personal initiative, and personal initiatives are good, but they fade away with time. So try to have policies and regulations that support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bassam. Now it's the time for Dr. Mohammed Al-Kathiri. Your final thoughts, please.
Thank you, Doctor. Well, I may just say, I believe it's not about assessment. It's not about graduate attributes. It's not about teaching strategies, but it's all about the student learning experience, which is all the above and more. I think we should focus on the functional part more than the technical part. Although it's important though, but I believe it's just many examples that at least I hear here and there, it focuses on the technical part of the learning more than the functional part or the educational part of it, the teaching and learning part of it. So I believe this is very important. It's all about the learning experience of the student. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Kathiri. I think this is the end of our final thoughts. If you don't mind, if our panelists today, they don't mind, this final thought, it will be circulated through the website of the university and the Deanship of Equality as a Twitter, and LinkedIn and all social media for the whole week. Okay, we just asking the permission of our panelists. Now, I would like really the end of it to thank all. I mean, it's our privilege to us and Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal to have 3 panelists. Honestly, you guys add a lot of knowledge and a lot of information for a hot topic. Thank you so much. Thank you really so much for accepting my invitation and perform with high performance in the lecturing. For my final word, I would like to see you in our next webinar. That will be July 12th. Hopefully it will be the same time, 3:30. The topic is very important, and we always in the summer, June, July, August, which is the results of the ranking. I think we're gonna tackle the university ranking issues with the top ranking in the world. Dr. Ashwin and Kevin Downing and the group of people, they're going to come and discuss it. The question is which way forward and how to benefit us, okay? Before I close, to view our webinar, please visit our YouTube channel, okay? You're going to find the whole sessions, the complete session in our YouTube. Thank you so much all. If there is any last word for my panelists, it's my pleasure to hear it. Thank you. Dr. Nasser?
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Thank you very much.
Dr. Bassam?
Thank you very much. And we learn from each other. By the way, we learn from each other. We also learn from your questions because they are very enlightening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Kathiri?
Many thanks, Doctor, to you, to the university, Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University, and to the attendees. Thank you very much. To the panelists, of course.
To all the people, the 230, they participate with us. Thank you so much. The people from United States, from UK, from Saudi Arabia, from India, from Pakistan, from Uganda, from Ghana, and from Libya, and also from Turkey. Thank you so much for all of you all. Our university is worldwide university. We are proud of it. Thank you so much all. Thank you.
دكتور بسام الويبينار القادم جايبين أشوان ورانا
Yeah, he is really. He is.
Assalamu alaikum.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.